Good morning everyone. Welcome to the commerce class once again. I hope you all are revising all the topics which we have already done. We were doing chapter 10, that is public enterprises. We have already completed the meaning of public enterprises, the features of public enterprises, the objectives of public enterprises, as well as we have already done the role and rationale of public enterprises. Now, today we are going to discuss the criticism of public enterprises and the government companies. Means criticism of public enterprises and the meaning of government companies and features of government companies. I have already told you all that under this chapter there are different types of companies discussed, that is the public corporation as well as the departmental undertakings. But these two have been deducted from the current syllabus, that is the public corporation as well as the departmental undertakings that has been excluded. Now public corporations, just in one line I am telling you, public corporations are the corporations which are established by the special act of Parliament. I have already explained you when we were doing the types of companies. Today, though it is not there in the syllabus, but for your knowledge, this is very important. They shouldn't have excluded this, but anyway, if it is that has been excluded, we will not do it in detail, but at least you should know that public corporations are those corporations which are established by the special act of Parliament or state legislature. Like the examples can be taken as like UTI, Life Insurance Corporation, State Financial Corporations and all these, they will come under the public corporations and they are under the Parliament. Now departmental undertakings are those undertakings which are directly under the government control, that is under the central government or under the state government. We will discuss about these government companies and its features in detail in this chapter. Before this, let us do that. What is the criticism of public enterprises? Till now we have done about the role, rationale, objectives, benefits of this public enterprises. Let us understand this criticism of public enterprises. We have seen that how public enterprises, they work for the welfare of the society and community. The main motive of this public enterprise, that is not profit motive, but the main motive is service motive, and they want to provide services to the society, and that is why they are running their programs like that. The main aim is to bring the country on the path of, that is, developed nations, and for that industrial development is very essential. So these public sector enterprises, they are set up in rural areas also, so that the balanced regional development can be maintained. So we have seen how these public enterprises, they are running well even in rural areas, providing benefits to the people, those who are living in the rural areas, providing them all comforts, electricity facilities, housing facilities, all those hospitals facilities, gas facilities, public transport facilities, all these facilities they are providing. The standard of living of the people in that area, that is being uplifted. So these public enterprises, they are doing their best to provide better facilities to the community and society. They want equitable distribution of income and wealth in the society. They want social justice, they want economic justice, they want to provide the better quality of products at reasonable price at reasonable time to the consumers. So this is the main role of public enterprises, but there are certain loopholes also, due to which the public enterprises suffers. Now we are going to discuss these loopholes and the points on the ground of which the public enterprises that is criticized. Now the very first point, it is delay in completion. Here delay in completion means the establishment of public enterprises, it causes delay. You know why? Because the establishment of public enterprises, lot of legal formalities are required. So many legal formalities are there for its formation. And just because of those legal formalities, it takes a lot of time in establishing those enterprises. And that is why it increases the cost of establishment, which is not very good for the public enterprises. So this is the reason on which that is the public enterprises that is criticized. That is delay in completion. It takes time for the establishment of those industries. There are so many formalities that is to be undertaken, and it takes a lot of time, which increases the cost of establishment, and that is to be that public enterprises suffers because of that. Second one is faulty evaluation. As I have already told you, that these public enterprises, they are mostly, that is, it is owned, managed and controlled by the government officials like civil servants, politicians and all. They are there to manage, own and control all these. They may be very much efficient in their own job. The civil servants, they are highly qualified. In their area, they are highly qualified, but they may not have the professional degree of running the business. They may not have the experience of taking decisions related to the business, due to which the public enterprises suffers. Faulty evaluation. You know, these public enterprises, they are managed, owned and controlled by these politicians, civil servants. They are there. The board of directors, in that also the members are these people only. So who all are going to take the decisions? They are going to take the decisions related to the business. So just because of their inabilities in that particular area of taking the decisions related to the business, they cannot estimate exactly the demand and supply. They cannot understand the techniques of these demand and supply forces. They may not estimate all these things properly. They may not understand the competition that is prevailing in the competitive environment. They may not perfectly scan the business environment because they are not efficient in those areas. So just because of that, the faulty evaluation can be there in many areas, that is going to badly affect the public enterprises. Now the third one is heavy overhead costs. Normally the public enterprises, they do the heavy expenditure on providing housing facilities and other amenities for their employees. That is very good. That is very good to provide all these facilities. But a big burden, financial burden is there on the public enterprises just because of providing all these facilities to a greater extent, due to which the business has to suffer a loss. Most of the time there is a shortage of working capital, fixed capital, just because of these things. Many government sectors are there now. All these pension schemes and all those facilities, slowly and steadily, there is a retrenchment in all these areas because government is not having the funds to provide all these facilities. So this is the reason behind that. So providing all these facilities, though it is very, very important, but it increases the overhead costs. These are the indirect expenses, not the direct expenses that is being incurred. So just because of these indirect expenses, the direct expenses, there is a shortage of money to incur those direct expenses. So this is the reason that is in heavy overhead cost. That is, the overhead cost is increasing. Now fourth one is poor returns. As I have already told you, the civil servants, the politicians, they are there to take all the decisions. They may not be so much efficient to take the decisions in that particular area. So that is why they may choose the wrong alternatives. They may take the wrong decisions in different areas, due to which there can be poor returns. So these are the main drawbacks of the public enterprises. Inefficient management. The civil servants, the politicians, they are there to manage. Even they are in the board of directors, their representatives are there in the board of directors. They all the time interfere. There is no freedom. Autonomy is not there. Very little autonomy is there, or it is negligible. So that is why that leads to inefficient management. The employees, all the managers, they are not able to take the decisions on their own. There are different levels in the organization. They cannot take the decisions on their own. So that is why a lot of all these confusions are created, which leads to inefficient management. And there is a long line of authority also, which creates a lot of confusion, and that leads to inefficient management. Then political interference. The same thing. The people, the politicians, the civil servants, continuously they try to interfere in the management, though they don't have that much of experience, but they try to interfere in those areas, which reduces the freedom of those public enterprises. That is why we can see there is very less flexibility in the public enterprises. So it is just because of the too much political interference. Labor problems. Due to the inefficient management, the labor problems arises in public enterprises. Due to the inefficient management, there can be a problem of overstaffing also, and there can be a problem of understaffing also. Most of the employees, they are appointed at different places where there are no requirements. So that leads to inefficient management, and of course the labor problems will be started. So there should not be overstaffing situation, and there should not be understaffing situation. But the right people should be there at the right job. So normally when we talk about the public companies and private companies under the private ownership, we talk about that they take into consideration and place the right man at the right job. That is called as division of labor. So here it lacks, due to which labor problems arises. So we have seen all these 7 points are there, which states the criticism of public enterprises. So what a public enterprise should do, that they should try to solve all these problems, overcome all these problems, so that they can provide better benefits to the society, to the community. Now, the government companies. Now, what are government companies? We have already done. I am repeating it once more. Government companies are those companies which are registered under Indian Companies Act 2013. Now, that is clear, I think. Government companies, though it is written as government company, but it is registered under Indian Companies Act 2013. Indian Companies Act 2013. Government companies are the companies that are registered under Indian Companies Act 2013. But the government holds more than 51% of the paid up share capital. So we can say that government companies are those companies in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the central government or one or more state government, or jointly by the central government or state government. And the government company is registered under Indian Companies Act 2013. The government company can be public company or it can be private company. The government company which is public, in that there is a government participation, government ownership is there, in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the government company. And in private company, it is wholly owned by the government company. So the government company can be public also, can be private also. You can see in your book also that has been mentioned about the government company. If it is asked, please write these things. Government company. A government company, in my book it is given on page number 213. I hope all other things which is not there in the syllabus, you all have crossed that and you have put a tick mark on the government company because it is there in the syllabus. So government company is a company in which not less than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the central government or by one or more state governments or jointly by the central government or state governments. It is formed and registered under Indian Companies Act 2013. I have already told you, which contains special provisions relating to the government companies. A government company may be either a public company in which both government and private investors hold shares, whereas or a government company can be a private company which is wholly owned by the government company. Then in India, most of the government companies are private companies and the entire share capital is held by the government companies. Government companies are also known as mixed ownership companies. Mixed ownership companies, because it is the mixture of public, that is, it is the mixture of private and government. Then the examples of government company you can take, the examples are like SAIL, that is Steel Authority of India Limited, Bharat Heavy Electricals Limited, National Thermal Power Corporations. All these are the examples. Hindustan Insecticides Limited, Hindustan or Antibiotic Limited. All these are what? These are the examples of government companies. Though they are registered under Indian Companies Act 2013, but still they are under the government ownership because the government is holding more than 51% of the paid up share capital in that particular company. It can also be wholly owned by the government. All the shares can be subscribed by the government itself, because most of the companies in India, government companies in India, are private. So this was the meaning of government companies. I hope you all would have understood the meaning of government companies. I have explained you the meaning as well as the examples also I have told you. Now let us understand the features of government company. The very first feature is incorporation, which I have already told you that the government company is a company which is registered under Indian Companies Act 2013. Now, separate legal entity. I hope you all have heard this feature, separate legal entity. Separate legal entity means the government companies, they have the separate existence, they are free, they are independent, they can enter into a contract, they can sue and can be sued in its own name. It has independent existence. That is called as separate legal entity, that is the separate existence. Then the third one is ownership. The government company, though it is registered under Indian Companies Act 2013, but it is government owned because more than 51% of the paid up share capital is held by the central government or one or more state government or jointly by the central government or state government. Then management. The management is done by the government companies only. Means how? The management over here, that is very important to see. That is the management, as the government is holding more than 51% of the shares, the government has the full power to take the decisions, to manage the organization. That is, all the civil servants, politicians, they have the complete interference in that. So that is, but autonomy is provided. Autonomy is provided because it is running like the public company. It is running because it is registered under Indian Companies Act. So though that is owned, managed and controlled by the government, but here the board of directors are there. Like as a public company, it is managed by the board of directors. Here also it is managed by the board of directors. But the members are nominated by the government. The members over there, they are nominated by the government and the shareholders. Then own staff. Its employees are not government servants. Over here it is written own staff. The staff, it is not necessary that the staff will be government employees only, but the decisions related to the appointment, service conditions, remuneration and all, that is decided fully, that is decided by the government. So that is about the own staff. Then financial autonomy. They have the financial freedom. They have the financial freedom. It is written also over here. It enjoys borrowing powers. It can borrow from outside also. It is not subject to budgetary accounting and audit controls applicable to the government departments. So they can enjoy borrowing from outside. Then accountability. The government companies, they are accountable to the ministry or the department concerned. They are very much accountable to the ministry or the department concerned. Its annual report is placed before the parliament or the state legislature as the case may be. That is, the annual report is prepared and it is presented before the parliament or the state legislature as the case is there. So this was about the features of the government companies. All these features and keywords, key lines are given in the book. It is not that anything you can write. You have to write the points from the book itself. So please understand that what are the key lines, what are the key words, and though you can use your own sentences, but the key lines and key words should be there. So please take all these things into consideration whenever you are answering the questions. If your explanation will not be in context with the points which you have written, so you will not get any marks out of it. So please, I am repeating again and again, because you all are making mistake. I have seen, I am checking your copies. You all still don't know that how the answers are going to be written. So after completing the syllabus, I am going to tell you about, I'll take few questions, short answers, long answers, and I will tell you how the answers are going to be written. Those things you will have to take into consideration, because understanding the concept, that is very good, but you should know how to write also, how to put those concepts into properly, how to present those concepts properly as answers in 2 marks, 3 marks, 4 marks, 5 marks. So that I will take up all those things after completing the syllabus. So in the next session, we will discuss the merits and demerits related to government companies. Thank you very much.